Is it time for recess yet? I'm so glad you found time to join us here on the Childcare Director's Chair, where Erica Sacoccio shares her best practices that she's refined through her passion of directing childcare centers over the last 23 years. From parenting interaction, systems to save you time, money, and stress, to profitability. She shares it all from the Childcare Director's Chair.
Hey guys, Erica here with the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. We have our friend Cindy back. You know Cindy, she is with the National Childcare Association, and she has been on our show before. So many things going on the legislative end, budgets, funding, all the things. So I thought we would call Cindy back to come to the show, and so she is with us here today. Welcome back, Cindy.
Well, Erica, thank you so much for having me. I love talking with you. You're such a passionate and knowledgeable childcare owner. And I especially love your passion for helping other owners to stay, in the business and thrive through some really difficult times.
Yeah. So while there's so many things going on, let's talk a little bit about what do you see on the national level? What do you see happening right now with changes before we even get to the budget, let's talk about advocacy, right? Let's talk about that because we need to advocate for ourselves as to what happens at the federal level, state levels. So let's talk a little bit about advocacy. For some folks, that sounds scary. That sounds like a scary thing. I don't know how to do it. I don't know where to do it. I can't get out of my center. Let's talk a little bit about why it's important and maybe simplify. What does that look like for the everyday childcare director?
Well, it's interesting because I do think that, fear keeps people from it. And more than even time constraints. I mean, there are time constraints, but I think fear, when I talk to people and we really get down to the root cause, and that makes me sad because I think what makes me sad about that is these are small business owners that obviously have an expertise and they are professionals. And what they do matters so much, and who knows it better than they do? And so the first thing I would say is gain some confidence in what you know, because you've earned it. You've spent years and years building your business and the ideas on what, makes the business thrive and be good for families and also be good for your family. So that's number one. I also, have to say that the fact that so many small businesses have not participated in advocacy. We're paying the price for that now. And we're trying to fix something that really, started, breaking down many years ago. Then the pandemic came along and we actually got, a spotlight put on us because people realized that, those essential employees couldn't go to work without our essential workforce. And, I was interviewed by so many newspapers and so many media outlets during those times.
Yeah.
And guess who's interviewing me now? Nobody.
Me.
Yes. You. Thank you, Erica. But we're not in the news. And I recently got a call from CNN, right after the swearing in of our new administration, President Trump. And he wanted to know what I was thinking because I've talked to Gabe several times. And then he got back to me and said, well, I can't talk to you right now because of the airplane crash. And certainly that airplane crash was a huge priority. And I would never question that. But what does happen is, and I can tell you, childcare needs to be in the news again.
Yeah.
And that means that we, as an industry and owners and parents that are struggling to either keep centers open and parents struggling to pay for it, are going to have to join this voice. because there's all these organizations in DC, ours included, that talk, that we have worked together now since the pandemic better than ever on unified messages to Congress. And you know what we get back? We need to hear more from our constituents. So at the NCCA, one of the things that we do on a regular basis.
Hey, it's Erica here, and I've got something super exciting to share with you. If you're in the world of early childhood education, you cannot miss the Early Childhood Empowerment Conference. And I'm not just saying that. Trust me, this is where the magic happens. Over the course of 3 days, we're all about learning, connecting, and reigniting that spark that brought you into the field in the first place. And let me tell you, this conference is packed with goodness. Day one is all about leadership. We've got 5 incredible presenters who will walk you through the business side of running your program. Plus, it's more intimate, a retreat-style day with only 80 administrators, so you'll get tons of face time and an opportunity to connect. And to close out the day, a fun, hilarious comedy show and dinner with Jay Yoder from the Board Teacher Comedy Tour. He graces the stages all over the country. Day 2 is a day full-blown conference with 50 vendors, 14 amazing speakers, plus 2, not 1, but 2 keynote addresses that will leave your head full of fresh ideas. Oh, and did I mention, you can also get a free professional headshot. You can even hop on an ECE podcast and share your expertise with the world. So much fun packed into one day. And then day 3, you get to relax. We're heading over to Urban Sweat, where you can treat yourself however you want. Whether you want to unwind in a Himalayan salt cave, you want to get into a yoga class, or just enjoy a relaxing massage, you will leave totally recharged. You can book your services directly with Rafa and pick exactly what you need. So are you in? Don't miss out 3 days of empowerment, inspiration, and just pure connection with your ECE community. I can't wait to see you there. So let's do this. Links below. See you soon.
As we have them, is that we have permission, because we're members of Childcare Aware of America, First 5 Years Alliance, National Women's Law Center. We have permission to share their action alerts, and an action alert is literally a click of a button. Yep. And if you want to weigh in on a bill or any kind of, policy change, you can go to that. You can click on a button, put in your name and zip code, and it'll take you to your representative and your senator. And you can send our message, because we're trying to unify it, or you can send your own message. Yep. And actually what works best is you send it, our message, because if you agree with it, which as a provider, I can't imagine you wouldn't, but at the same time, tell a little bit about your story, because what you do is so relevant, and our lawmakers still don't get what we do. And we're trying really hard to use the same language, and the same language is because we're childcare and early educators. We're like a one-stop shop, where those two things combined. And what has confused some of our legislators, especially our older ones, and I don't know I'm old, so I can say that, is that they see childcare as one thing and they see early learning as another. And, I would think, and so, we have a lot of brick and mortar. We have space, but we need educators, and we need money for educators, so that they receive the same type of pay and benefits that they have, in public schools. Yeah. Because a lot of our folks leave, understandably so, to take advantage of that. I would say this, is that there's 3 levels of advocacy that are equally as important. And as an advocate, you can pick one of the 3, or you can do all 3, but don't ignore doing anything at all. You have to come to terms with your voice matters, your experience, your wealth of knowledge matters. And we're not at too many tables when it comes right down to change. We have to knock on doors. Sometimes we got to push on that door. And even then, people are like, well, we got this. No, you don't have it. You're not boots on the ground. Let us help you. Let us help you. So the 3 levels are, you have local advocacy. Local advocacy has the greatest impact on more immediate community-specific improvement. So if you're focused on something that is immediate, then you've got to get out there with, one of the leading groups that are trying to help change childcare and make it more accessible and affordable is the Chamber of Commerce's. So if, you're a small business, okay? And that's another thing. Congress looks at us like, well, you're a small business. You ought to be able to, deal with your own, pain and fix it. But it's a different business model. So if you're not comfortable, with legislators, go to your chamber meetings, introduce yourself, tell them what you're struggling with. They're struggling with finding a place to put their people to work, to hire people. You might be able to have a collaboration where somebody says to you, hey, you know what? I need employees and I'm getting a lot of, I'm giving job offers, but they don't have childcare. Hey, maybe we can do something together. Maybe I can pay part of their childcare. There's actually a nationwide push for that with big companies, but it can happen on the ground. There's also state advocacy, and that's key to influencing how funds that are allocated and provided by the federal level to creating innovative solutions. Now, if you're looking to influence how funds you receive from the federal government are allocated, then state advocacy is an important, piece. And right now, I think there are only a handful of states that state legislators are not in session. So anybody that's a child care association is out there and, representing you. So if you have a child care association or a director group, join, get involved, find out what's going on. Don't be afraid of your competitors. I will tell you, I became a really good businesswoman because
friends.
Yeah, I had to become a good businesswoman to be able to stay employed as the child care, provider and director and district manager that I wanted to be. Because if I didn't balance my checkbook, I was out. And one time, one of my bosses said to me, Cindy, you can buy all the Play-Doh and paint you want, but you better figure out how to pay for it. And I started, instead of looking to, honestly, my home office for solutions, because they were up north and I was in Oklahoma and it's like 2 different worlds. I started going to my Child Care Association meeting because a lady begged me to come. She kept begging me to come and kept begging me to come. And finally, I was like, I need some help. I got 8 new centers. The oil industry in Oklahoma just blew up. I don't have enrollment. I need to know what to do. And I will tell you, over the years, I learned more from my local child care association about how to do business and be successful. And they would tell you the same about things I taught them.
Yeah.
And because we had different strengths, we had different, connections. And so that kind of has led me to my role in federal advocacy. Because the lady that drugged me into state advocacy, and her name is Kathy Kronmiller, and unfortunately the pandemic took her away from us. And she was my mentor in advocacy and in accreditation. She is the reason that I learned how important accreditation was.
Yeah.
And she was a pioneer and got her centers that she owned accredited, both by NACI and NECBA, and let me come into her centers. Again, I was a competitor.
Yeah.
And learn about it and bring my directors. And ultimately, because of her, I was able to support over 100 centers in becoming nationally accredited when I was out in the field working with teams. But I also learned about accreditation or about advocacy, and she drugged me to my first National Child Care Association meeting back in like 1995.
Yeah. So you said a lot of really great things, Cindy. The first thing is we're going to call that word professionalism because to me, that's the thing that is a mark of a true leader and a professional. It isn't the certificates on the wall. Those are nice, but it's those things just right there, helping other people in our industry because we are here to serve families and children and we have to work together and it's important. So that's something I absolutely love and value. You already know that about me. The
Yes.
other thing that you said quite a while back, maybe about 8 minutes ago,
I'm
when we were
sorry I
talking.
talk
No,
fast.
no, no, that's okay. This is your mic, honey. The other thing I really wanted to say that I think people don't understand because I come from that business background, and yes, a lot of people do think that why should we save that industry over other industries? There is no industry that's regulated quite the way that ours is. Nobody says to McDonald's, you're only allowed to sell 70 hamburgers this week. Right? No other industry has those types of limitations on the amount of business you're able to do within your business. So there's that. The other thing that I think people don't always comprehend is when they say it costs as much to send a child to daycare as it does college, or it costs more. Listen, when you're in college, what is the ratio for that college professor to students? And how often does that college professor get new students? So a college professor could have 50 students in a day, 60 students in a day for a max of 20 hours in a week compared to 50 hours for an infant, and you can have one teacher with 8. That's why it costs more, guys, because of the ratio and the way that the model is built out. Now, I'm not certainly suggesting that we have more children because quality is important, but that's what it is. It isn't the lack of people's business savvy, or honestly, I think it's the opposite. I think that we are probably the most savvy and most tenacious and most resilient. We can make magic out of a cardboard box and duct tape, right?
We
Where most
can.
business, right, we can and we do. And so I think that's where some of that frustration comes when you hear those things. We are real educators. Yes, we work with a different population and we use different tools and different methods because that's what's required for their age. But and I don't mean to get us off topic. I'm really actually on topic, just like proving those points of why people don't get it because there's really nothing to compare it to. You can't even compare it to traditional education. A kindergarten teacher can have 20, I think in my state, 26 children.
25 in most states.
25. Okay, 25. That same kindergartner gets on a van, drives to my school. Now they have to be in a ratio of 1 to 13. That same child in the same state, a mile down the road.
Yep.
So this is why you can't compare the two. They're not the same model, and they're not the same model, not by our choice. We didn't design that model. This is the model that our regulations have in our state. So it's different than any other business, including a public school, in the way that it's run, the way that it's funded, the regulations. All they're very different. I know you know, Cindy. I'm sorry. I don't mean to go off, but it's just
No, I
this
think,
is why people just don't get it.
and that's why what you just said is that's why we have to tell our legislators
Yeah.
what we know and what we know well and with confidence. And you had mentioned something earlier when we were talking before we, joined the podcast about cost of care.
Mm-hmm.
There are cost of care worksheets,
Yeah.
and I have been trying really hard to, get that out to that information over and over again out to our association leaders and
No.
members because New Mexico actually got some great results in their state legislature, and have a huge state contribution to childcare that is offering up to, I think it's a family of 4 can make somewhere in the neighborhood of $121,000 a year and get free childcare because they've established a fund through an oil and grant an oil and gas grant, land grant that they had. But establishing the fund was one thing. but they had to prove to their legislators
Yep.
that the cost of care required more money. And they used a cost of care worksheet, and that's what they used to show, this is what it costs to run a high quality center. And again, you have to put in, not just what you're paying for today, but what it really would look like if you paid for, a 4-year degree teacher, to make what is made in the public school.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a different business model, and that's what we have to help our legislators understand.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, there's been a time in our history, a couple of times, where the federal government bailed out, the airplane industry or and then there's been a time where they've bailed out the car industry. And we're not really looking for a bailout.
Yeah.
We're looking for, tax breaks and funding that would allow for the cost of care to be paid first and foremost for our subsidized children, so that there are so many providers out there that won't offer that, because if you're not given the cost of care and you don't have enough private pay customers can pay over the market rate to balance that out, and we don't have that anymore. And the middle class definitely is struggling with, our current economy. So part of it is educating everybody we meet, whether it's at the chamber or of commerce or, in a group that of parents. Even parents need to understand that we are not, making money hand over fist. 90% of the providers in this country, licensed childcare providers, are small businesses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so using a cost of care worksheet, and if you need one, I have one. Somebody, by all means, send me a, email. I'll send you out one. It has all 50 states in it.
Can you send me a link? I think I could put it in the show notes. Send me a link to that, and we'll put it right in the show notes.
I'll make a note.
The other thing is, even if programs do take subsidy, here's just my little business hat. It's really important to make sure you have multiple streams of revenue coming into your business.
Oh yeah, you got to break those.
You have to, because the programs that right now 100% that are leaning on those the federal money, and if it stops, they're done, right? And so here's an example, and it's funny because it happened before and it somewhat happened now, but the administration that's in here now did a great job. So in Rhode Island, probably about 8 or 9 years ago, they put in a new system to take care of childcare assistance, and the computer crashed. We didn't get paid for months and months and months, and it was a nightmare. To the point of, at one point, the state owed me $70,000 in back childcare subsidies. I'm a small business. That literally almost put me out of business. We just got hacked in Rhode Island through the childcare porthole, the DHS porthole. Got hacked. They had to shut it down for cybersecurity reasons. They did a fantastic job making sure that providers got paid. And they had to do some reconciliation. Right now they're doing reconciliation, but they made sure that didn't happen. But that's happened twice in 11 years, that if that system crashes and that's the only way that you're getting revenue into your program, you're in trouble if you don't have, 5 or 8 months of expenses stored up in your reserves for money, So you have to make sure that you have lots of different ways to balance what's going on into your checkbook,
And that kind of goes to, if you're a small business provider and you're really struggling, you may need to make a connection with somebody that can help you understand the business side, because most of us come into it with the experience of child development and, customer service skills with parents, all of those things. But nobody really, usually you learn the business side from mistakes or, from situations like you just described with, when your funding was stalled for a while due to a problem with your agency. And some of the things that we should be advocating for are also better technology, better data, things that allow like a parent, to apply for childcare and food stamps or SNAP. We keep changing our verbiage so that even getting a parent to qualify, helps. And also information that can come directly from the provider, to the agency. Unfortunately, because of the place and time that we're in right now, there are people out there promoting deregulation, and that is not an answer.
Yeah.
This is not an industry. I mean, that would take us back to just being babysitters.
Yeah.
And so I think what has to happen is funds have to catch up with regulation.
Yeah.
And that's the big part. And there has to be tax breaks. And I will tell you, one of the bills, and I sent you this, Erica, and you said you were sharing it with your network.
I did. Yeah.
And I will continue to send anything out, that we have like that to you, because I know you're sharing it. And when we send something out and says, this is your chance, to make a connection. And the one thing that we can do this year federally, and this is the other thing, sometimes you have to take baby steps. And the one thing that's on the agenda this year is that, there has to be a new tax bill approved. The last one was approved in 2017 and expires this year. And the child independent care tax credit needs to be updated. It needs to be kept. And there are some people that think they don't need that. But this is where middle America, who pays for everything, this is the only way. It's not the child care tax credit. It is for working parents who pay for child care. And right now, the figure that they get to deduct is minuscule. It's like $3,000 some odd dollars for one child, $6,000 for two, and it's not fully refundable. So what they're wanting to do is double that, and at least get it to be a better amount. It won't be exactly what it's costing, but then it would be fully refundable. And so this would make childcare more affordable for those that are paying for it. Now, the argument I get from people is, well, that's not quick enough. Well, here's the deal. We have not, as an industry, stuck with, being actively involved in our advocacy for ourselves. And the price we're going to have to pay for that is we got to get in there and start with where there's opportunity, and then build onto that, and become more of the voice. But they got to hear from us now to recognize that we have one. And one of the things that we're doing at NCCA that I hope, we are able to, rally some people. But right after I leave your wonderful conference that I'm so excited about attending, is I'm going to the Childcare Aware of America Symposium in DC. It starts on the 4th, so I'm flying from Rhode Island to there. And I'm trying to rally people from different states to join NCCA as a group of attendees. And because typically you at the symposium, which is amazing, it teaches you things you didn't know about advocacy. There's a Hill Day where they schedule you to visit your federal legislators. You have the opportunity to interact with policymakers and from different states. And it's just, I've gone 3 times, and it is at this point the best conference for people that, I got to do something different. I got to get out there. And I didn't go to my first one. I didn't go to my first Childcare Aware conference until it was right before COVID. And I had gone to national conferences, and I'd gone to the Hill with National Child Care Association many years ago, and then they stopped going. So if you're so inclined, let me know. Erica knows how to reach me. And actually, I'm going to send you a copy of our February newsletter. And
Okay.
it actually has an invite in there and some information. And, I've had a couple people say, well, that's pretty expensive. And I said, it's not cheap. But at the same time, if it can help you
Yeah.
do something that will actually, get you a return on that investment, if you can swing it. But we got to show up in DC as private providers. And right now, you know who's in DC? There's the big companies are there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a bad thing. We actually have a call every other month with the Early Childhood Education Consortium, and that's where all the big companies, center their
Mm-hmm.
efforts on. But they're only 10% of the industry.
Yeah.
And they don't have enough money, even the big companies, to be, the NRA or the big pharma.
Sure.
And and that's why we partner on a call, to help the small providers feel a part and know how to become a part. And then we also, and then everybody else advocating in DC are members of, they may have worked in childcare at one time, but they're members of organizations, but they're not boots on the ground. And it's going
Yeah.
to take boots on the ground connecting. And if we show up as a large enough group, and we've been welcomed by the by childcare aware folks, they know this is what we're trying to do. I think we could be noticed and maybe invited to some tables.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that we, see. I would love to take 50 people. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Well, share the newsletter so folks can get all the information on how to do that if they can. Um, Before we start to wrap up, and first of all, you're not just coming to the conference, you guys are a sponsor of our conference. So I wanted to say thank you for your support. You have been so supportive, like literally since I met you, like over a year now, supportive with your time, with your efforts, with sharing resources. So I very much appreciate that. Um, is there anything that you want to share before we wrap up that you think folks need to know about what's going on, either at the state level or just in your organization, or just any insights that you want to add?
The thing I would like to add is I would like for you to at least explore our website. It's a little cluttered right now because there's so much on it. And when I became part of this, when NEGBA, the National Early Childhood Program Accreditation, took over the NCCA at the request of 3 board members that were trying to get NCCA to revive because it had died over the years. And they came to us, and they had been a part of it many years ago, and they were part of our NEGBA board, and we accepted it. And I was asked to step in as an interim director to try to do something to reignite it. And we didn't even have the notes on a napkin.
Wow.
We didn't have anything because the former management company was upset about the move. There wasn't anything on the website. Literally, I think there was one letter to the Office of Childcare, and we had one business affiliate, and that was Geico Insurance, and not really anything that spoke to childcare resources. So go to nationalchildcare.org and learn about us if you're so inclined. Look in the, open the menu and scroll down and see join or renew in case you've been a member. And, read our newsletters, act upon the things that we put out there. We're on LinkedIn and Facebook. And just join us as a voice. If you don't join us as a member, join us as a voice. I mean, like I said, we're on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Yeah.
So if you don't have $30 or $100, and I get that, it's the way it is. But if you do, fortunately, my boss, she's just, her grandmother has been a private licensed childcare provider for 50 years. And so we both have a personal mission here.
Sure.
We believe in what people are doing, and we think we are misunderstood.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to, share what other people have shared with me. And I read a lot about what's happening. And
Mm-hmm.
advocacy, somebody wrote me a letter asking for my help, and they said, advocacy is fickle. It is. And it is. And every time administrations change, it puts a halt to things.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, under our last administration, and again, I'm not blaming, this is just a fact.
Sure.
Because, but we got there were some rule changes at in Child
Mm-hmm.
Care Development Block Grant and CCDF. There were there were unfunded mandates. And again, unfunded is the key word. We put in some rules to improve what states can do with their CCDF money,
Mm-hmm.
but there was no funding put with it. So now what's happening is, okay, because states have to pay attended or scheduled versus attended, and I don't know what Rhode Island does, but so far the majority of states out there still pay just when the child is there. Well, we know
Mm-hmm.
that. I mean, that whether that child's there or not,
Mm-hmm.
the
They're
rent
still
has to
taking a
be
spot.
paid.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Everything gets paid. About the only thing that is missed is a meal. It
Yep.
doesn't cost that much less to operate without that child.
Right.
And all right, so the other thing is that if you are on assistance, it's 7% is the top copayment. So states are having to throw in more for that.
Yep.
And the fact that there's not any money to help raise the percent of income that a parent can make. So a lot of states are still down below the
Yeah.
poverty level. So these are all things that the past administration did because they weren't able to get anything through Congress to
Yeah.
help on the funding side. The other thing is that now we're in kind of uncharted waters, and so many other things appear to be more important. But we are a big piece of the puzzle when it comes to the economy. And that's the other thing we're working with our legislators to understand. This is an economic issue. Parents need to make a living and be able to pay. They want to pay their own bills. They don't want to live off, the
Sure.
government. But if they could get childcare assistance, they can work and pay for their own food and their own housing.
Yeah.
So that's another reason that, we put that out in our newsletters regularly about what should you be saying to your legislators, and invite them to your school.
Yeah.
What a picture speaks 1,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
And this is especially good for your state legislators who think you're still babysitting. Most of them, when they come in, they've been invited in, maybe to read to the children,
Mm-hmm.
especially during their election year. They are shocked at what we really, really do.
Yes.
So that's kind of where we are, and I am always available at CLEHNHOFF@necpa.net. Talk to me. Tell me what I can do for you.
Cindy, you're a doll. All of you who are listening, thank you so much for tuning in day after day. We truly do love you. And remember, it's the small details that make a big impact on the success of your childcare business.
You
That's all
had
for
me at
now.
hello, Erica. Talk to you later, and we'll.
Well, all the cute little kiddos have been picked up and it's time to go home. And that'll do it for another episode of the Child Care Director's Chair. Please leave a review so Erica knows the information is helping you to manage and improve your childcare centers. Remember to subscribe to get the latest episode from Erica's Child Care Director's Chair.